What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first interview in celebration of Hispanic slash Latino Heritage Month for 2021. I have with me here Jaleen, fellow Dominicana. So, welcome, Jaleen, to my channel. Thank you for agreeing to doing this interview with me.
Thank you, Xtina. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, Jaleen, you've been around for quite some time. I know you've been, well, I've seen you on my channel for what, like a year and a half, maybe already? It's been a while.
I think I've been in your channel for like a year or a little over a year, and
Mhm.
I subscribed because I do like how you educate people on our culture and our history. And I think that's cool because I don't see many Dominicans on YouTube educating people about our culture like that. So
Mhm.
I think it's a cool thing what you do. So I subscribe to your channel. So you know.
Well, thank you. Thanks. So I reached out to you to do this interview because you and I have had, some conversations on the side discussing different topics in regards to, Latinos and more particularly in regards to Dominicans. And I feel like we agree on a lot of stuff. And it seems like you've been kind of trying to figure things out on your own and, you're like questioning different things, which I think a lot of us are. I think a lot of Latinos and like Dominicans are just trying to figure out like who we are at the end of the day or where we belong in society or within the Hispanic bubble.
Yeah.
It's like we hear so much stuff online and sometimes that can confuse people more. So, I think it's good though that we're asking questions and trying to learn more about who we are and where we come from.
Right. I do think it's important to always like ask questions.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, right. So, like I always do with my interviews, I want to just ask just a few questions about your background. So, like I said, you are Dominican and both your parents are Dominican, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And where in DR is your family from?
Okay, so my dad's side of the family, they are from the Cibao, and my mom's side is from, well, she was born in the capital, but my grandmother, which is my mom's mom, she's from Montecristi, I think, I believe, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, have you gone back to DR to start your life?
No, I haven't. It's been a very long time. I was very little, like when I the last time that I went, and I don't really remember that much about it. So
Okay.
I do feel like I do want to go back though now that I'm older because I do want to
Mhm.
like reconnect with my roots again.
Yeah.
I feel like even though I am Dominican, I was born to Dominican parents. You know, growing up here in the U.S. is different than growing up in the island.
Of
So it's
course.
like you don't ever want to just like forget all your roots. You know what I'm saying? Like I am American because I grew up here and I was born here, but
Mhm.
you know, at the end of the day, I know that I'm Dominican. I have Caribbean roots. So it's all, I feel like it's always important to reconnect with your roots.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. And traveling back to the country is I think the best way to do it because it is a different experience. I mean, even if you're around Dominicans here in the United States, I mean, being that it's such a different environment, it's just not the same. And even though I didn't grow up in an area with a lot of Dominicans, I'm very thankful that my parents took me to DR so much because I got to have that firsthand experience of what it is that people back on the island experience. And just, I got very, close contact with people straight from there. So when people say, "Oh, Dominicans are this and Dominicans are that," I can easily reference back to what I've personally seen and experienced while I've been in DR. So yeah, I mean, and this goes for anyone out there, regardless of where you're from. If your parents happen to come from a different country, definitely try to go back and get in touch with your roots. I think it's a very humbling experience, and it really just helps you grow a lot as a person.
Right. I agree. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the things that we've been talking about, and something that Latinos in general talk a lot about online, and I feel like we've been talking about for the past like 2 years, and we just never really come to a resolution, is how to identify. I feel like when it comes to Latinos, one of our main issues always comes back to this issue of identity. And maybe it's just us here in the US that make a much bigger deal about it versus the people back in, the home countries. But we're always we always come back to this, how we should identify. And I wanted to ask you, like, if you feel any type of a preference or an inclination towards one label versus the other, whether it be identifying as Hispanic or maybe Latino or something else, because it seems like people attach different meanings to these labels, and some feel like, oh, we shouldn't identify as Hispanic because of this, or we should because of that. So what are your thoughts on all these labels and stuff?
Well, I personally don't have a problem with the Hispanic or Latino labels, or I mean, I don't identify as Latinx. I know that's a new label that's out there now, that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it came out recently, or because I have heard people say that that came out even in the 80s, I think. But I'm not so sure about that. But I choose to just identify Latina. Um, I don't have a problem with those labels, but with the identity, yes, there is so many. When it comes to race, there's so much, I feel like, race policing by other people from other communities sometimes, and telling us how we should identify or how we shouldn't identify. And in reality, that's up to you at the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
if you are, there is in our country, in Dominican Republic, I feel like the majority of us are very mixed, with the exception of minorities that are more predominantly European or predominantly African. But I know I'm mixed, so I choose to identify as just like a mixed Latina. you know
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the race thing is definitely something that always comes up. And I've said this before in the past. I feel like not just with Dominicans, but a lot of Latinos in general, it's hard to try to fit ourselves into one box, because the majority of us, because of the histories of Latin America, a lot of us are quite mixed. Of course, you have your pockets of people that remain pretty unmixed, whether it's very basically pure indigenous people. There's even pockets within Latin America where the Black populations remained pretty unmixed. But for the most part, all of us have mixing from generation to generation, going back and back and back. So a lot of times it's hard to kind of place yourself into one box. So it's kind of like, I'm mixed at the end of the day. That's what I am.
right, right.
I think depending on how you look, though, that can kind of play a role too, because when you are more visibly one thing, it might be, I don't know, you might get kind of pushed into that box, or you yourself might just put yourself in that box. Because, like, for me, to those of you that have been listening to me for a while, y'all are going to hear me repeat a lot of stuff, but I do have a lot of newcomers as well. So growing up, like, I always, whenever I had to check a race, I put Black. I would check Hispanic or Latino for ethnicity, but I would always check Black because phenotypically I'm, to the darker side. But in reality, when it comes to my genetics, I'm quite mixed. You guys have all seen my DNA. I'm like literally half African descent, half not. So anyway,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, when it comes to Dominicans, yeah, that's a race thing, man. It's always
There's so much out there. A lot of people have opinions about us.
yeah, a lot of opinions about us, but even Dominicans amongst ourselves. Because I feel like, yeah, we always have like outsiders talking crap, but we ourselves a lot of times talk crap amongst each other and target each other. And well, you already know, I've had my share of Dominicans on here talking shit. But
Right.
I'm like, I've always said Dominicans are predominantly mixed. Like, no matter how many times I repeat that, people always want to put me all the way over here when it's like, nah. I'm right in the middle. We're mixed, majority mixed. Like, but anyways, I'm talking too much. Anyway. Oh man, don't get me started on these people. Okay. So with all that being said, do you believe in the concept of like a Latino or a Hispanic unity? Is that something that you feel is attainable? Or I don't know, maybe it'd be easier for us here in the US? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I do believe in the unity. I don't have any problems with that. I don't have any problems with uniting with other Latinos from other Latin countries, because growing up, I grew up in New York City, and it's very mixed over there, specifically the Bronx. So there you grow up very mixed. in the schools you see all types of people, and outside you see all kinds of people. So I never really had a problem with honestly making friends or connections with people outside of my culture.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the Latin unity, I do believe that it does have potential to go somewhere, you know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of split on it. I think for Hispanics in the or Latinos in the US, maybe it is more of a feasible thing. I think Latinos back in Latin America, maybe so much because you're talking about an entire landmass continent of people. So to think that they're all just going to, I don't know,
Like accept
care,
us, you're saying?
even, huh?
To think that they're all gonna accept us.
Yeah, and it's all
Yeah,
just
I get what you mean
united.
there.
Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I don't know about all that. But at least for us here in the U.S., maybe. Um, I do think that we have certain things that unite us, such as the language. I mean, that being the primary thing. There are some, cross-cultural similarities that we share. Similar interests among a lot of us. But then again, we also have our differences, which I think can sometimes also get in the way. We have a lot of ethnic and racial differences between us, and the cultural differences also come into play at times. So I think it maybe comes down to maybe where you live. Like you said, you grew up in the Bronx around a lot of differences of people. For you, that would be easy. But for someone that maybe doesn't grow up in such a diverse area, or maybe they're only exposed to one type of Latino group, it may be a little more difficult.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I mean, it hasn't always been easy, if I'm very honest, communicating with other Latinos from other countries because even though, yeah, I grew up in a very diverse place, I feel like sometimes they can tend to make fun of how or mock how Dominicans speak since we are Latino, but like we are mixed with African, you know what I'm saying? So like we have like our own Spanish dialect, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so I feel like comparing to other Latinos, we are like very unique in our own way.
definitely.
So yeah, it can be kind of, I guess, it can be different, you know, since we have very different cultures, we come from very different backgrounds, you know, since comparing to other Latinos. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, as long as you're like an open-minded person and you're open to communicate with other people and learn about other people's cultures, I think you should be fine. And being that Latinos are such an increasingly or becoming such an increasingly bigger group here in the United States, even politically, that kind of finding some type of common ground and using our numbers to I don't know, work things in our favor again on a political or economic level, that might be beneficial for us as well. So,
Right, right, right. I
mhm.
agree.
Now, so going back to your, identity, you obviously consider yourself part of the, Latino, uh, what's the word, diaspora, I guess.
Yeah.
So, do you also consider yourself part of like the Caribbean community or part of the African diaspora? Because I think as Dominicans, we're in a unique place because we're like like a Venn diagram with the circles and
Yeah.
because we're part
Yeah.
of the Hispanic community. We're also part of the Caribbean community. You can also say that we're part of the African diaspora to an extent. Is there such thing as a European diaspora? I don't know, but we're like we can like kind of identify with all of these different circles. So, do you consider yourself part of those other groups as well?
Definitely. I do. I'm not just only, you know, we do speak Spanish, and I guess that's why we can kind of that's where we can kind of connect with other Latinos because we speak the same language. But I also consider myself Caribbean because, you know, we have Caribbean roots. Um, and I also consider myself part of the African diaspora because that is the main influence, you know, that is in our culture. You know what I'm saying? So I do consider myself part of all those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Likewise, so do I. It's interesting though, like especially when it comes to the whole Caribbean thing, because I don't know if you've noticed that I've mentioned this on my channel before, but I feel like a lot of times the Spanish speaking Caribbean kind of gets left out of like the whole Caribbean community thing, which partially I do think is because we tend to a lot of times associate more with the rest of, Hispanoamerica or like Latin
Right.
America
Yeah, I
versus
agree.
the
Yeah.
Caribbean. And so sometimes we do it to ourselves, but then again, it's like we're still Caribbean though, and we do have commonalities even with the non-Spanish speaking Caribbean. With I mean, a lot of the food that we eat is very similar.
Right.
The fruits that we, that grow on the islands. There's just, I don't know, different things that, or even different customs that I've
Yes. Yeah.
learned along the way that people say in Jamaica or other countries do as well that we do. And I was like, oh, we do that too. So
In my
we have to
opinion,
limit ourselves to just one group.
right. In my opinion, I do think that if anything, if I compare the two, the Caribbean and the Latin America diaspora, I feel more connected personally to Caribbeans. Even though I have interacted with other Latinos, like I said, I always feel like, a little bit like an outsider if I'm around a bunch of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, for example, Salvadorians or something like that. I would always know I have like something different in me, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like we are also Caribbean and we carry a lot of, even though we may not all speak the same language in the Caribbean, we carry a lot of the same traditions and customs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I can definitely relate to that. And, me also, with the Salvadorians, no shade to the Salvadorians. Love y'all. 'Cause, there's a whole lot of them where I'm at. So I'm always around them. But yeah, I mean, they're very, for the most part, they're very cool people. But yeah, I mean, even still, I sometimes feel kind of like an outsider because I'm usually, like, if I'm around a lot of Salvadorians, I'm usually, the only morenita. And then I talk different. So I definitely feel like I stand out. But yeah, I've always felt more of like that connection, I guess you could say, to a Puerto Rican. I haven't really interacted with too many Cubans, to be honest, but definitely Puerto Ricans. And yeah, even other Caribbeans that I've been around. So
Right, me too.
yeah. And then as far as feeling part of the African diaspora, again, that's something that I consider myself a part of as well. I don't really consider myself like a Pan-African person or whatever. I don't know if I really believe in that, but I do consider myself part of the diaspora because again, okay, the same way there's so many differences and blah 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 amongst like Hispanics, for example. There's a lot of differences and distinctions amongst different groups of Black people. So sometimes I'm like, I mean, on an individual level, sure, Black people from all over can get along, but at the end of the day, they're also very distinct. So to think that there's one big unity, I don't know if I really believe that's attainable. But anyway, yeah, so I feel part of that as well. And there's a few pages that I follow online. I kind of focus more on like the African descent populations throughout the Americas and stuff like that. And yeah, there's definitely similarities there too.
Right, right. Yep.
Okay, so I don't know if you recently saw a stream that occurred about like the Afro Latino. Well, there's been a few actually lately about Afro Latinos and that term, blah blah blah. How do you feel about the term Afro Latino? Do you agree with it? Do you identify with it? Do you feel like only certain people should identify with it? What are your thoughts on that?
I have nothing against it, but yeah, I do feel like only certain people should identify as that because, it wouldn't, in my opinion, it wouldn't be respectful if you're a Latino or Latina that is more mixed or ambiguous looking to identify as that because I feel like that mainly goes for the people who are predominantly, African descendants,
Yeah.
and are also Latino or Latina. So it wouldn't make sense, for example, if I start calling myself that, in my opinion, even though I have seen a couple mixed Latinos identifying as that.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, we do have it in us. Not saying that we don't have African in us, but I just feel like that term will mostly relate to people that are predominantly more African descent.
Okay. I agree. Yeah, I do think that label was created for people that are visibly Black or that were racially identified as Black. And I've said before too, over the past 2 years, it kind of bothers me, even though I don't really call myself that. But when I see very ambiguous or very light, fair skinned people with like a little slight curl calling themselves that. I'm like, why are you calling yourself an Afro-Latina? Like, you know, damn well you've never identified as Black a day in your life. Like, why are you using this term? But, you know, I
Right.
try not to fall into the whole like identity or racial policing, but it's just one of those things that makes you wonder, like, are you only doing this now because it's cool or because, you know,
It's a new term. I guess
you
that's like the
know,
new trend or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, but I feel like I don't know. After all this racial politics started going online, I don't know. I feel like some people are confused maybe,
yes,
and they're just
ignorant.
either they're one dropping themselves and just calling themselves one thing when they're
Yeah,
mixed, or like it's just, in my opinion, all it takes is for us to look at ourselves in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? And just we
yeah.
can kind of tell by that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Or
That's
you can take a DNA test.
that too. That too. The DNA test. I mean, I definitely feel like that's helped a lot of people um come to terms for one with who they really are. Because
Yeah.
you know, some people out here be in denial, but
Right.
no, they're not even that accurate, blah, blah. I think they're fairly accurate. I don't know. To me, that's just my opinion. Now, getting a little more specific when it comes to Dominicans, because, you know, again, this is a topic that, you know, me and you have talked about. And I know there's a few different channels that you watch of other Dominican YouTubers. So, from what you've experienced or noticed, what would you say are some of the main issues that you feel always comes up when it comes to Dominicans? Like, whether it's things that you used to hear on YouTube or like other social media.
Well, yeah. So on YouTube mainly, I would say I have seen various lives from different Dominicans, trying to basically educate our people in our culture and our history. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I notice a lot that there is two extreme sides to
Yeah.
this, when it comes to the race and all that stuff. I feel like there's a side where they only want to identify European and say that the whole DR is European, which is not true. And then
That's
there's another side that wants to say that we are only African, and that's not true either because a lot of us are very mixed, even if you are brown skin. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? There's a lot of, when you're mixed, that doesn't apply to just one certain skin tone either. So you can be mixed and light skin or mixed and brown skin. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, and that was something I really noticed as well, just in watching, you know, all these different Dominican DNA videos over the past couple years. And I was like, wow, it's crazy how like a lot of the lightest people, they would have like a substantial amount of African DNA, anywhere from like 25 to 40% African, but they're light skinned. And then with us on the browner, darker side, we have substantial European ancestry. Because mine is, I mean, it's changed a little over the years, but I'm like at 40% European. I think now it went down to like 38%, but you know, still a considerable amount. So
right.
and
Yeah.
again, even with the darker people, they can have anywhere from like 25 to 40% European. And that is kind of like a reoccurring thing I saw a lot. Uh, I mean, I don't think it's an undeniable fact that at the end of the day, Dominicans in our majority are a very mixed race people due to our history on, you know, our side of the island. So when, you know, you see these two extremes, like you just mentioned, it's kind of like, why? What's the
Right.
point?
That's
Like,
exactly what I say to
you
myself.
know,
It's not
facts
that
is
hard.
facts. Like, we're not white, but we're also not straight up black. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like people be just trying to rewrite history, or they just don't want to come to terms with what reality is. And I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all,
I think people that are not from our community, they tend to get, because, we do have our neighbor Haiti, which is we are both in the same island,
mhm.
obviously. But they tend to kind of mix us all together.
Yeah,
And, I don't have anything against the Haitians or Haiti, but there is a racial difference. If we're going to get down to race, there's one side that is way more African descent and predominantly African, and then there's another side of the island that is way more mixed. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And it's not, some people may claim that saying that you're mixed is denying your African side, which I don't believe either.
No.
So there's a lot of opinions, like I said, out there in the media. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I know someone that doesn't really maybe know the history of the island. Yeah, they would say y'all are on the same island, y'all literally the same people. But it's again because people don't realize our histories while we shared the same island, they both played out very differently. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, they just played out differently, which is why and going back to colonization and slavery, which is why one side remained a lot more African descent, whereas the other became a lot more mixed. And it was just that's just how our histories played out, and I don't think it's wrong necessarily to point that out. It's just again, it's just is what it is. It's just the reality of the situation.
right, I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, the racial policing, it can definitely be an issue. And I know a lot of Dominicans get very fed up with that. And at this point, I feel like I've addressed this so many times. It's kind of like, it's almost like beating a dead horse at this point, but it just never goes away. It never goes away.
Right.
And people keep talking about it, and Dominicans keep talking about it, which people may have noticed. Okay, so when I first started my channel, I tried to avoid talking about race, but eventually it was just almost impossible to not talk about it, especially as a Dominican. So, I kind of started talking more about it, but I'm back at the point where I'm like, listen, I've said what I had to say,
You're
so
just
many
done.
times.
You already educated the people enough.
I've addressed it literally so many times, and people, either you get it or you don't. People, the rational people that listen to me, they get it. But you still have irrational people out there that still, for whatever reason, twist my words and put words in my mouth. At this point, it is what it is.
Right. I've seen that a lot with your channel. A lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of trolls, they like to twist things around and
Yeah. Make videos about me and live streams and talk a whole bunch of shit. But I mean, at this point, I'm used to it. That's why I barely even respond, honestly, when people.
which is the best thing to do because you shouldn't give your energy to those things
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, they're just promoting me. Even when they're talking shit, they're promoting me. So hey, give me more free promotion, y'all. Go ahead.
Right.
But anyway, so I totally forgot to ask you. I was going to ask you this earlier, but what are your favorite aspects of Dominican culture? Whether it be food, dance, music, traditions. Is there
Yeah,
anything that you
definitely. I would say
love
the food.
about it? Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love the food, but I also love the dances and the music. Um, and yeah, I just love everything about the culture. I wish I, would go back. It's been hard lately, to travel because all these restrictions and stuff that they're putting now. But if this wasn't existing right now, all the restrictions, I would definitely plan a trip to go over there, because it has been a while since I've been on the island. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am planning on going relatively soon, a few months. I just hope that they haven't required the jab by then, because I am not jabbed. Um, and I don't intend to anytime soon or ever,
I
hopefully.
have my personal opinions on that too, so but that's another discussion.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So hopefully they don't require it before the end of the year, so that I can
Right.
go. Yeah, I definitely want to go over there and vlog and stuff like that. I think for me, my favorite aspects are definitely the music and dance. I'm a very, musical person, and in case I haven't noticed by now, I love to dance, So
Yeah.
I do my little dancing videos. Even though people say I'm thirst trapping, but I'm really not.
Don't listen to people.
I just really enjoy dancing. Like I really do. Like I dance here by myself and I have a good time on my own. So yeah,
Yeah, which is
definitely
great. Yeah, I've seen your dancing videos.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how like so many other groups of Hispanics listen to our music too. Like merengue for one, literally heard around the world. And
Right.
bachata has gotten there too. Like I see people in Europe, I've seen people in Asia, having like bachata and merengue workshops in their countries. So it's like, yo, we lit out here.
I've seen recently, I think, a video of Adele, the British singer
Mhm,
from the UK.
mhm.
They recently posted a video of her saying she was dancing to Dembow. which I thought
Oh,
was
I think
very
I
funny. I
saw a
was
post
like,
about that, but I didn't see an actual video. That's funny.
yeah, I actually, it was like a short video clip, but I think the DJ of it was a wedding party that she had attended, and the DJ of the wedding party was Dominican. So he
Mm,
just had to put that in there, you know?
yeah. Okay, okay. Okay, so going back to the whole like the whole Haiti thing or our relationship with Haiti, I know you've mentioned to me that that's something else that you've had or been part of conversations with may I say other Dominicans or whatever, or you've seen it being addressed on other channels. And I know you've had your own questions about that as far as our history or how Dominicans feel about Haitians. So, what are your thoughts as far as the things that you've heard from other Dominicans so far?
Well, when it comes to the topic of Haiti, we all know that is a very controversial topic because so many Dominicans and other people that are not Dominican have their opinions about that too. Um, and personally, I don't have any problems with with Haiti or with the Haitians at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's just so many different sides to it. I've been doing my research more, and I've been hearing different people's opinions on lives and stuff like that. So what it comes down to for me, I am kind of personally still confused about the whole situation that is going on over there in DR with Haiti,
Mm-hmm.
because the ones in the island always seem to say that it's an economical issue. But the ones here in America, I feel like, are always saying that it's a racial issue. So I'm like, is it both? Which one is it? Like,
Mm.
I understand too that, I understand that we are a third world country. Dominican Republic and Haiti, it's a third world country, and we do not have, it's not like we're filthy rich. So I understand, like, if they're saying that there's some economical issues there where they can't provide for all the immigrants that
Yeah,
come from Haiti.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to some degree, we also have to hold accountable the president over there. He definitely has abandoned his people. He doesn't seem like he cares about Haitians. So I believe, that's the reason why they are immigrating to DR. So
Mm.
yeah.
So that's interesting that you say that, at least from what you've heard, you feel like Dominican Americans believe it's more of a race issue.
Yeah, from what I've
Which,
seen online a lot.
okay. Hmm. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. In my own experience, I feel like as a Dominican American myself, I will say I feel like a lot of times the ones online that talk the most ish are Dominican Americans. And I mean, I can only say it's because we're in the US and here race is a very prominent thing. So I think a lot of Dominican Americans are influenced by that. And they translate the race bullshit here to race over there. Now, I'm not going to say that race isn't a factor at all. At least from what I have learned from other people, and most of what I know, I have asked other Dominicans, particularly Dominicans that were born over there and that are more in tune with what's going on over there, even if they're not currently living there. But, I try to get my information from other people that are more educated on what's going on. So I'm not going to say for some, the racial component can't be a thing because, yeah, you do have your few Dominicans that will be like, okay, they're blackening the country, blah, blah, blah. But personally, from what I have heard and seen, I do think it's more of an economic thing more than anything. I think in any country where there's a large influx of immigrants, especially like illegally, it does somewhat become a burden on the government. You can't deny that.
Yeah,
But at
definitely.
the same time, I don't, like I've said again before in previous interviews, I can't entirely blame them because at the end of the day, the Dominicans and the Dominican government is letting them in too. So nobody is really innocent in this whole thing.
Right, right. Which I mean, I don't have a problem with them going into DR. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just, if there is an economical issue where they cannot provide for every single person, then that is something that needs to be talked about. Because, for one, what I always heard, since the beginning, when I started researching more about this topic was that it's only a racial issue, but I never heard that it was an economical issue to it as well.
Of course, yeah.
Until I started listening to other people, the Dominicans that are in the island,
Hmm.
in my opinion, they would know more of what's going on because they're the ones living over there. So,
Right, right. No, of course. And really, in reality, they're the ones we should be listening to. But,
right, yeah,
since we're here in the US, obviously we're going to be more in communication with other Dominicans here in the United States or that are speaking in English, since most of our content is in English, So the algorithm is going to get us in contact with other English speakers. But yeah, no, I definitely think it's more of an economic thing more than anything else. It's an economic thing. It's a political thing, definitely as well. So it's a very complicated issue, and I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, "Oh my God, you Dominicans can never have a conversation without bringing up Haitians." And to any Haitian people that are listening, you already know I haven't really known a lot of Haitians throughout my life, but I've met some very cool Haitians here on YouTube. I recently interviewed one in person. I got no issues with Haitians whatsoever, and I
right,
don't
right.
blame them or I don't attack them or nothing like that. Because at the
Yeah,
end of
there's
the
no need for that. I
day,
feel like all that is childish, making
there's
fun
no
of
need
them or
for all that.
mocking them. Because at the end of the day, they are our neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, and we should always be the first ones to help out, which I believe that
Which
is
we
mostly
are
the
always the first
case.
ones to help out.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, which is what kind of bothers me sometimes when people like they shit talk Dominicans so much, and they always want talk about how terribly we treat them, and it's like, yo, anytime some shit goes down in Haiti, who was the first people helping them out? Is DR,
right, right, right.
and yeah, I mean, where are they going when shit goes down? They're going into DR, and we do help them when they're there. So it's like, come on, y'all, let's be fair here. But much love to any Haitians listening. Um, I get I've been told many times that I'm not really Dominican, that I'm Haitian and all that.
Oh my gosh. People
Listen,
will
if I
always
was
talk their
Haitian,
shit.
I would just say I'm Haitian. If I was, there'd be nothing for me to be ashamed of. But
Right, right. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
a
personally haven't
complicated.
had any Haitian friends, but I mean, I don't have any issues with them either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a complicated situation all around, and I'm sure this conversation isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. So we'll probably continue to talk about it and bring it up as long as the whole immigration thing is still going on. People are still crossing over legally. And speaking of that, I don't know if you saw how, like, in Texas, they're like deporting a bunch of Haitians that are there.
Are they deported? Yeah, I think I saw that recently. I didn't read the whole article, but I did see that they were doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And I don't understand
Yeah.
why the US is starting to deport them
It was
as
just crazy.
well.
It was like, so y'all gonna let all these Afghans or people from Afghanistan in, but y'all can't let the Haitians in? I don't know. It's kind
Right.
of crazy, kind of weird. But that made me think too, like, damn, like if that was DR doing that, oh man, everybody would have been talking about, see how the Dominicans, they so racist, blah blah blah. Like people would have been talking
You're
mad.
right. I feel like people just focus, or especially the ones here in America, they focus a little too much on the race. And
Yes.
so it's not always a race issue. I feel like it is also more lenient towards like economy. It's
Mm-hmm.
an economical issue, in my opinion, from what I've seen and researched. So
Yeah.
that's not always the case. I do feel like, in a way, there is some bad propaganda out there about Dominicans when it comes to
Oh, it
the
definitely is.
Haitian issue. Yeah.
There definitely is. Very one-sided. Very one-sided. And again, I'm not saying Dominicans are perfect, because definitely not. But nobody is neither entirely innocent nor entirely guilty in all this. That's just what I say. There's a lot of moving parts in all this, and I mean, we can keep talking about it, but until both governments kind of get it together, I feel like it's just a situation or an issue that's just going to continue.
Right. I don't know. Now, if you were to ask me, like, what would be a solution, I really wouldn't know what to tell you because it's
Yeah,
just a very complex situation. So,
right.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on how you feel Dominicans in the United States are doing. Well, I think you mentioned to me that you're no longer in New York, but so I don't know if I can really ask then. Did you recently leave New York?
Well, yeah, I moved from the East Coast to the West, so I'm in the West now.
Okay. Was it like, did you recently move?
Yeah, so I only have like a couple of months here on the West.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, well, while you were still in New York, how do you feel like the Dominican community up there is doing economically? Do you feel like you see a lot of Dominicans either starting businesses out there? Do you feel like most or a good portion are say middle class, or do you feel like they're more like the lower end of things up there? I don't know if it's making
Well, I think, yeah, when you're talking about New York City, I feel like they are definitely more lenient towards the lower class, economically. We are, at the end of the day, I believe that we are minorities because we grow up in the more poor neighborhoods. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So we are definitely not in the high class or middle class in New York City. I feel like now, for example, the ones in Washington Heights, which is like uptown Manhattan, I feel like they tend to be more like entrepreneur minded or business minded from
okay.
what I've seen. I didn't grow up there, but I have lived there before and I have visited there many times. So from what I've seen with the Dominicans there, I feel like they are more open to business.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay, so any New Yorkers listening, y'all can give your opinions on that. I
right.
was recently in New York. I went twice this summer. I really like New York. I've been to New York plenty of times before, but this was like my first time really going just by myself, and meeting people off of YouTube. I've met quite a few people off of YouTube now, so that's been really cool. But this last trip though, I actually got an Airbnb in Washington Heights, which a few people were like, "Girl, you got an Airbnb in the Heights?" And the area was, it's a little ghetto, but
Right.
but then again, I don't know. At the same time, I guess because the area is so predominantly Dominican, like I felt, like, oh, I'm around my people. I didn't feel too weird about it, I guess. But I definitely saw a lot of like, little shops or people like on the sidewalk selling stuff. And, you can definitely tell a lot of the people there are very business or entrepreneurial minded, even if just something small that they're doing. And I think that, I don't know, maybe that's something a lot of people just carry from DR, because I think you see that a lot over there too. People, they may not have a lot of money, but if they have some little business they can run, even if it's out of a little kiosk looking thing, or selling empanadas on the street, they'll do it.
Right, right. Which I do agree with you on that. I feel like our community in general, even the ones on the island, are very business minded.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just, even if we are here and not on the island, we have to carry the same mentality, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's it's a good thing though. Even though a lot of Dominicans here in the US and may not be the most wealthy, but we definitely make a way for ourselves, regardless of where we are. I think that's something most Dominicans definitely carry. We're not going to let ourselves die of hunger.
Right.
Way. And if we got a product to sell or a service to provide, we definitely will go for it. So
Right,
yeah, that's
right.
definitely a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. I feel like I've been talking a lot this interview. I usually don't ramble as much as I have been, but maybe it's because maybe I just feel comfortable with you. I don't know. I don't usually ramble this much. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm talking a lot this interview. It's not about me. It's about you.
I would definitely say the time passed by fast. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like 46 minutes.
I know. So I didn't mention at the beginning, but you do have a channel. I know you told me before it's not like really big yet or anything, but if you want to direct people over there, what is your channel mainly about?
Yeah, so I do not have a lot of subscribers at all or videos. I haven't posted in a while, which, I have to be more consistent with. But yeah, if anybody wants to follow my YouTube channel, my channel is All Things J. I am trying to start to post there more often. the videos that I have up now are mainly about psychology. I mean, but I will start doing like maybe more beauty videos. I was thinking of doing that as well. So, because
Okay.
those are like things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in
Yeah.
beauty and psychology. So, yeah.
Nice. I actually minored in psychology in college. I was always pretty into psychology, but
Oh, wow.
I didn't major in it though because I was like, I don't know, it might be hard to get a job in it later on. So I just went the more practical route and did business like everybody else. Yeah. So yeah, that's something we have in common. And also the beauty thing. You know, I like doing makeup and I like
Right.
stuff as well, which I have my beauty channel, which I haven't uploaded video in like 4 months on there. It's terrible.
Oh, no, on the beauty channel, right? Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
have a separate, yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
made a
seen it.
separate beauty channel because it just didn't make sense to keep putting beauty stuff on this channel. I was like, because you know my audience is predominantly male, so I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
needed this
true. True.
makeup, but I've slacked because this channel takes up all of my time and effort, really. But yeah, I need to stop procrastinating and get back to my beauty thing as well. I don't want to lose that skill, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I have to get back into that too. I used to upload like on my IG little like beauty photos because I used to do like makeup, like eye makeup and stuff
Yeah,
like that, but I haven't done that in a while, but
yeah,
I
me
kind of
too.
feel like I want to tap back into that.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll start doing that on my YouTube now, I was thinking, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's even doing makeup in itself, it can be like relaxing, therapeutic, and it's kind of like an outlet to let your creative juices get flowing, you know? And if you want to
Right,
play,
which I think is very important. Speaking
yeah,
of creativity, I feel like it's always good to let out your creativity and what you
yes,
have to, offer and stuff like that, especially with our community, because I feel like I don't. I don't know if all Dominicans around the U.S. are like this, but definitely, like in the part that I grew up, I feel like we should express more of that. Whether it's through drawing, art, or like makeup or fashion. I think it's
yeah,
important. So yeah.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, Jaleen, that was all of my questions. So I want to once again thank you for coming onto my channel. You know, it's always exciting for me to interview other Dominicans and, you know, to just give Dominicans in general a platform to speak, the rational ones, anyways. Not the haters. But yeah, so thank you again. So you guys, if any of you guys are interested in psychology type stuff or eventually beauty content, definitely go check out Jaleen's channel. I will leave the link to the channel in the pinned comments and in the description box below. Stay tuned for more interviews to come, again, in celebration of Hispanic/Latino Heritage Month. And I'll check everybody in my next video. Peace.
Bye.